Did you know that becoming wealthy is not just about creating money? There's another side to the money equation, and it may be just even a little more important than anything else. Frank Thomas here, Wealth Generation Strategies, and I thank you so much for joining me today. As I mentioned in the intro, there's another side to the money equation that you need to learn if you want to become wealthy. It's all about learning the fine art of living frugally. Now, I'm not saying you need to run into the forest, live under a rock, and grow a beard. No. I don't live under a rock in the forest, and as a matter of fact, I've been blessed with a pretty nice house. But again, I bought it with a frugal mindset. It's just so important to realize, and I can illustrate this with what I like to call the simple money equation. Even your 7-year-old child can understand this equation. A minus B equals C. A is the money you have coming into your possession, your paycheck, whatever it is. B is what you got to pay out in expenses, so that's taken away from what you've gotten coming in. And C is what you have left over to pay yourself. If your B or your expenses are too high, there's no way you can ever save. This is why it's so important to learn the art of living frugally. A lot of people will rag on Robert Kiyosaki in his Rich Dad, Poor Dad books and game. I think it's called Cash Flow. But the game did teach me a very vital thing, and that was a plumber with a very low expenses can escape the rat race in the game and become rich much faster than a doctor or a lawyer. Why is that? Very simple. The plumber had much lower expenses. And that actually brings out something that's not even in my show notes here, and that is the higher the profession we have, usually the more expenses we have. That's not good. I'm going to be illustrating 5 hard truths that are different aspects of living frugally, and I hope they'll explain this concept in detail to you. Let's get started. Number 1, what proper frugal living isn't. Frugality isn't about hoarding every penny you get, and this can make life pretty yucky. Just leave it at that. Did you know that the Christmas story that you see every year on the TV called The Christmas Carol is based upon a fictional character created by Charles Dickens called Ebenezer Scrooge? I read a few articles about this character and possible people he could have been created from when Dickens wrote the story. There's one that mentions a real live person who was quite wealthy and came into a place where they refused to spend money. There's a lot of history to it. I don't really have time to get into it, but it did come down to the fact that they just stopped spending money. They became extremely frugal. And there's also speculation that this person actually died of their own frugality by eating garbage because they wouldn't buy groceries. His maid that helped him in life died first because they ate the same garbage that she cooked, and that's what he gave her to cook. So that's what she cooked. Because of his frugality, he inadvertently poisoned her and himself. Not a good place to be. This is why learning when to spend money is so important when it comes to frugality. If you are initially unsure, just do this very simple litmus test when you're about to purchase something. Let's say you see a new shiny object and you want to buy it, but don't buy it right away. Wait a few days or even a few weeks, and don't during this time make yourself believe that you need it. And I'm going to be reflecting on this whole thing of need and want. Trust me, you want it, but you might not need it. You see, in the beginning, most purchases are wants and never needs. Resist the temptation. But if you're in a situation where you need to spend money, then spend it wisely. And this brings me to point number 2. Why do we spend? Learning why we spend will rely on the difference between the word need and want. Now, here's a funny thing about us human beings. We're only apt to spend money on a purchase when we want what we want to purchase. It's rare that we'll spend what we need or purchase what we need. It's always want that is going to cause the purchase to occur, not need. Let me give you an example. Let's say there was a medication that was relatively expensive and your doctor says you need to purchase it to continue living, Mr. Jones. Some people would immediately jump from need to wanting to purchase the medication because they want to live. But believe it or not, many people, and including myself in the past, I'm guilty of this, will need to be proven that the emergency of the medication is real and relevant. Otherwise, it stays as a need and the medication is never purchased. If you think I'm wrong, just take a look at life. There was a situation I was in where I needed medication and I should have been taking it and I didn't, and it blossomed into something much more serious. And I came to realize, wow, I have to take care of myself. So now I wanted to take care of myself. But how many people are told to take medication to treat a potentially fatal disease and they don't take the medication? Now, let's look at the other side of this spectrum. We see a new gadget and we think, boy, I need that. Wow, that's awesome. Even if we don't actually need, just want, we'll work to convince ourselves that we need that gadget. But don't be fooled. It's want that is motivating us. Need is completely out of this picture. Hard truth number 3. Learn how to moderate your spending. When you have a legitimate need, you need to spend money, but don't buy the cheapest, but also don't buy the most expensive. Buy the cheapest will force you to spend the same money again when that cheap unit is no good and it fails. Spending too little could needlessly drain your wallet, whereas spending too much will drain your wallet. Let's say you've come across a defined need like, I needed to replace my stove because the old one was now broken. My wife and I went stove shopping and looked at stoves in the stores to find the right unit for our needs. I discovered, though, I could spend anywhere from $900 to over $3,500 on that stove, depending on the model I chose. Boy, I can bet you can guess which one the salesperson wanted me to buy, eh? After some deliberation, my wife and I decided on a model which was about $1,500. It was the right purchase for our needs, and we didn't break the bank on it. So the big takeaway from this hard truth is to know how much you need to spend when it's needed. Hard truth number 4 is a doozy, so be sure to stay tuned. But if you're enjoying this video, be sure to give it a like. It does help the channel because it tells me you want more content like this. And if you do want to see more content from this guy right here, be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much if you do either. Hard tip number 4, learn how not to emotionally shop. Or there's a lot of reasons we spend money, most of which have nothing to do with a need or what we actually purchased. We need to learn the fine art of falling in love with the deal and not the item being purchased. Let me give you a great example of this in action. We are currently looking to sell our home that we're in right now to cash out a little bit and to also downsize. There's an expression called scope creep, and boy, we've seen it looking at houses. It didn't take long before we started to look at new homes with lots of bells and whistles. Were they nice? Yep. But the important question is, are they necessary? Are they a true need? No, not at all. Also, we found that before long, we were buying with our emotions, and the deal and falling in love with the deal right out the window. After some soul searching, critical thinking, and a talk with my wife, we had come to decide what we really wanted and needed going forward. It does mean a smaller home without all those extra bells and whistles, but it is a more affordable home that will meet our future needs better. Now, I will say too that I had to go through the numbers when looking at this in a different way, and I had to fall in love with the deal first. To not get into the nitty-gritties, it all came down to how much we would spend on the home, what it would give us and what it wouldn't give us, and how much different the money situation looks down the road, 10, 20, 30 years down the road. After looking at it from a bunch of different angles, the deal started to look actually really good. We were able to enter into a home that it's a little smaller, it is a downsize, but we could save easily $175,000 when we closed but we would be giving up a few things. And one of them is we'd still be living about half an hour out of the main city. Now, looking at that fact, I probably would be retiring in 5 years or less. So I came to realize that living in the city really wasn't as high a priority as I first pegged it to be. So you got to look at it and decide which is the better way, and you got to think long term all the time. This is the difference between falling in love with the deal or the house, and how dramatic the difference is in the end. I've been following this line of thought on all my purchases for quite some time. When I feel my excitement rise on something I've seen, I got to back away. Otherwise, out comes Mr. Visa or Mr. MasterCard, and now I've spent money I shouldn't have spent. Hard tip number 5. Don't be frugal to be frugal. I know this sounds weird, but for this hard truth, I got to explain. It's so easy to go to these warehouse stores and see really good deals. Wow, I can buy 3 cartons of salt for the price of 2 elsewhere. That's such a good deal. I know it sounds like a crazy example, but I actually did this. But was it really a deal? I use this example because I did buy a whole bunch of salt and discovered that it doesn't last on the shelf forever. As it turns out, by the time I'd gotten through the first carton, I'd noticed the salt had started to collect moisture and it was starting to clump all together in the boxes. I ended up throwing away probably half of the second carton, and I gave away the third because it was going to be no good to use as well. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is don't be frugal to be frugal. Another good example is buying something that's on sale because it's on sale. Look how much money I'm saving, but did you really need it? I thought I was doing a good thing in the long run, but you're not. You're not helping yourself at all. Here's another quick example. From our local warehouse store magazine we get on a monthly basis, where people write in comments in like the editor's section. The question that was posed to the readers was, what's your favorite item in this store? One answer was, everything I didn't know I needed until I saw it while roaming the store's aisles. Riddle me this, Batman. Is that a need or want talking? We all do this. Wow, look at that price. Sometimes we don't even have to have a definitive need. We just think we're being smart with our money because we're being frugal. The most frugal thing we could have done is save our money in the first place. I have a pantry that is a good example of this, of all the stuff we bought because we're trying to save money and be frugal. Look how good we were. And at the end of the day, it either goes to the garbage or we send it off, like canned goods and stuff like that, to charity. Well, I guess charity got it, but it would have been better if the money was still sitting in our bank account. That's the most frugal thing to do. With these truths, do you think you could become a little more frugal or able to save a little bit more than you are right now? If you say yes, that's great. And I have a video for you that can show you some practical steps just about anyone can you do to create wealth from nothing. I recommend that you watch it. No crazy money tactics or weird crypto deals in it. It's just plain, simple, easy things you can do. Good sound advice for you to follow to become rich. Otherwise, thank you so much for sharing your time with me today, and I do hope to have a chance to chat with you in the future. Now let's learn how to become frugal the right way. Ciao for now.